The original idea for today's topic was to go over some of my goals, some of my plans in regard to the long term grails of writing, but in light of the previous topics of the present continuous and the present simple and the slight confusion brought upon my fragile mind by the horrifying stative verbs, there exists a pattern in English grammar which ties directly into this. It is gerund, what I am talking about. And when I first found out about this separate usage of verbs ending in ing, what it did was to bewilder me further, but it had also helped me somewhat lessen the impact of various literary expressions, as those were the source of my, well, bafflement, for nothing is expressively forbidden when it comes to literature, hence the change in the contents of the first portion of today's video. Once more, gerund. And first thing first, how would I go about creating this? Well, it is exactly the same as forming present continuous. We add the ing ending, then, well, this needs to be emphasized. It has nothing to do with present continuous or any other continuous tense. It is its own thing, has its own rules. Negative, for example, is simple, not seeing, not having. It can also be passive, gerund of the verb be combined with past participle of the semantic verb being done as the irregular form, and for example, being carried. And here comes the tiny little stumbling block. Stative verbs such as realize, understand, have, can, and do form this structure, and quite often at that. So while there are stative verbs in possession of a dynamic meaning, our gerund is all encompassing, which does make things a little bit easier. So all I have to do now is to explain to myself the correct usage, which is mostly clear to me as I can do it in an exercise or use this structure when I am writing or thinking of a story. For instance, it can serve as the subject of the sentence. Exercising is what makes me happy. Here the word exercising is a gerund form. Studying for a test should be done consistently. Speaking of which, it is also possible to replace a subject with the infinitive form of a verb. Again, it would be considered archaic, at worst, at best formal. For example, to work out daily is what I enjoy. An infinitive clause, something that to an extent ties to participle clauses, which gerund falls under, as there is our present participle, past participle, and the perfect participle. But for now, this is more than enough. Now, by the end of this chapter, our young heroes finished with the leaflet full of truthful information on the boys of the arts. 5 copies handed over to one of their friends outside of the club with a firm notice, instructions on how to spread the message further, and especially the appeal to everyone's honor not to allow this flyer to fall in the hands of the boys of the opposing district, and instead strictly keep it within their own ranks. Well, this happens, and as they are sitting in their club room, everything done and finished, all they can do now is to speculate on how fast is this message of theirs going to circulate through all the children of the other side. Not even they know the exact number, but they can safely guesstimate that at the very least these pamphlets of theirs will change hands 10 times a day, likely more. Yarka, the one with the most numbers oriented mind in the club, does the crunching. As they do so, as they sit there in their club room in the dark, not to be thrifty, but it makes thinking and talking a bit more interesting, changes the atmosphere there. Having the lights on would simply distract them, and as they are slowly getting ready to end the day, they hear someone or something moving behind the door. As their conversation paused, everyone could hear these creepy, sneaky, suspicious movements outside of their club room, as we only get some light commentary on what this individual is trying to accomplish, maybe reach for the doorknob or for the ring bell. So when Mirek finally prowls to the door and carefully opens it, well, no one is out there. The only thing the dim light of the hallway reveals to them is some sort of a message, some note written on a white piece of paper, and after retreating back behind the door, locking them, he begins reading. Apparently, the writer is fully aware of everything the Rapid Arrows are doing, their attempts to raise awareness of every evil deed the Yarders commit against the boys of their district. The writer also issues a statement that there is a traitor closer than any of them might think. Well, and that all is signed the Yards. Mirek does not appear to be too shocked by this development, clearly anticipating some sort of a response, but even he is surprised by how quickly this happened, which also allows them to track down this betrayer, as the trace is way too hot and following it should not be difficult, which is exactly what they will be doing for the next few days, alongside the more serious, more pressing issue of trying to find out who exactly delivered the message and how did that person disappear without them noticing. Well, regarding that, the caretaker of that house admits after some small interrogation by Arca that she did see someone leaving the building quite fast in a rather weird manner, possibly carrying something that caused the person to look rather clumsy. After a short deduction, well, likely scenario is that he took off his shoes, which would be the reason for why they missed them leaving after delivering the message, clamoring around the doorknob, but then everything went silent. so they missed them leaving. Unfortunately, their detective work, their manhunt, turned out to be way more difficult than anyone would have envisioned, as following the traces right away turned out to be impossible as it was way too late at that point, and the next day the pamphlets already changed hands so many times that mostly confusion permitted this investigation of theirs. Although that we'll have to wait for the next video, I'm going to stop here. It is awfully late and I should definitely be doing something else, well, such as sleeping. So anyway, next time more, I suppose, participle clauses and then more rapid arrows.